So if you're looking to become a powerful, impact-driven entrepreneur, they say that success leaves clues. But the truth is, in order to get people to follow you, to take action, and to really lean into not only their own authenticity, you have to be great at leading not only yourself, but leading others. So leadership, for me, is the key to having a successful business. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to leadership, there's so many powerful leaders out there in the entrepreneur space, outside of the entrepreneurial space, who have literally given you all of their secrets, whether it's the podcast, their YouTube channel, or really their books. That is how you can dive in and find the clues in order to become not only extremely successful in your business, but also in your personal life too. And that is what we're going to be talking about here today. We're actually going to break down. We had this really powerful video that was the top 10 books, leadership books to read in 2023. And people loved that. But they were like, man, I really wish that you could give us a little bit more of a breakdown of the books, how you implement that into your personal life so that we can make a decision. Number one, if that is a book that they should read. And number two, if not, going out and finding other books. Because here's the thing, the truth is, and I talk about this all the time with all my one-on-one clients, it is do not take everybody else's advice on what books to read. Find the books that are in alignment with your core values and what the skill is that you need to learn next, and put your head down and literally just learn their secrets, all right? Instead of, I remember this used to happen all the time. People are like, oh my God, this new book just came out. It's so cool. And I would literally sometimes even stop the book that I needed to read what everybody else was reading. And it was kind of like this thing of FOMO in reality, but it would not help me whatsoever. And it wasn't until I started to think about, what are my goals? What do I want to be able to achieve? I want to be able to excel as an entrepreneur, but also as a father and a husband. What books do I need to read to lean into to get the most impact? And today we're going to break down 5 of those for you so that you can listen to them. I mean, even if you have read them before, just hear some of our takeaways and how we implement it into everyday life. But also see if you should pick these books up and maybe reread them or read them for the first time. So guys, welcome to Modern Leadership, where we help you see things differently. We actually help entrepreneurs become modern leaders by helping them develop the skill of true coaching so they can not only help themselves, but also help others to rise to the next level of their success, but doing so without having to burn themselves out or sacrifice family time. That's what this channel is all about. Now, how we do that is short, quick tip videos on Mondays and Thursdays, whether it's around entrepreneurship, around leadership, and really about connecting with your family, as well as making a massive impact in the world in your business. And we also do longer workshops like this, where if you're live, like Gaydeen is live here, you get an opportunity to not only ask questions, but also a lot of times be taken through workshops to help you identify how this applies to you. That's one thing that I find that naturally happens to me, but doesn't naturally happen to a lot of other people. I mean, this actually kind of brings up a really big topic. So I actually just got back from what's called the Dad Edge Summit. They invited me this year to live legendary, to be a part of it. And you're going to see a lot of people coming on the podcast, coming on the video or on YouTube, who I'm going to literally have them come here, allow them to breathe belief into you guys, give you a whole bunch of ideas and suggestions, a lot of successful entrepreneurs. But sometimes people think, well, this might only apply to dads. And the answer is, if you are able to find the universal principles, it does not matter. You can really, truly connect with them. I've learned so many things from men and male leaders, but I've learned some of the most powerful things from female leaders. And it's one of those things where everybody has their own way of not only communicating, but how they do things. And it's the mixture of the totality, but also finding the universal principles and move forward. I know some of you guys do know this. I started out in a multi-level marketing agency that had a ton of women and moms. And they used to have trainings about how to work your business in the mom cracks of your life. Can I tell you that if I hadn't been a part of that and actually asked myself, how does this apply to me too, that I wouldn't even be here in front of you guys. So it's really the power of seeing things differently. And I really, truly want to lean into not only another community to really help level everything up here, but also help personalize these for your specific roles, which is what we do on Saturdays. And of course, we have our Inner Circle program, which is a paid YouTube community where we share even more things with you guys, including a once-a-month live Q&A and a whole bunch of other things. If you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out, but you can also click the join button and learn a little bit more about the program there. So guys, I have my incredible, beautiful, amazing co-host, also my wife, also the real leader at our house, Teresa here with us. And we're going to break down these 5 books. So are you ready to go?
I am ready. This is a really fun topic for us
Mm-hmm.
because we fell in love with personal development and reading books, listening to books. So, lots of great books here that you're going to hear about today.
100%. I mean, it's a very, very solid point, is like how our personal growth journey started was literally from personal growth, reading books. Like I remember my first one was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It totally changed the trajectory of my life. And that initially started with me losing weight. And I read it and I understood, like Josh always says, my mentor, your outward success is an expression of your inner growth. Oh, we got Gedeen, your
Oh,
biggest fan
thank you
here.
so much.
And when we think about that, it's all about growing internally. And what's amazing is when you learn something like that, when you learn something like leadership, it's something that gives it to you in every single area of your life. Anne-Marie, good morning. Good morning. Now, so much so, I actually even wrote my own book. I don't talk about it a lot. It's Mastering Your Life Through Self-Coaching. It's all about the idea and philosophies of true coaching. But I was inspired by the books I read to actually write one myself, which is pretty crazy. And I know that every single one of you guys has a book inside of you at least. And I would really love to hear about your book when you do actually release it. But we're going to dive into our top 5 books. I'm going to share 3. Teresa's going to share 2. And we're really going to dive into some of the philosophy in the book and also to see if this is something that is the book that you should read. Gedeen is already reading my book. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys. So here we go. Here is book number 1 for me. And that is The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. Now, the reason why this book is at the top of my list, and even on that top 10 video that I did on our YouTube channel that's gotten, I don't know, like 50,000 views, I broke all 10 down. I didn't break all 10 down, but we did it really quickly. And at the end, I talked about this one being number 1. And the reason why it continues to be number 1 is because it feels like it's the rules of leadership. It's like, here's the 21 different rules. And not that you need to increase all of these, but like pick 1 or 2 that will literally get you to what he talks about, like lift your leadership lid. So it's one of those things where you can read it 72 times and you'll get 72 different answers out of it and you'll be able to level yourself up. Now, one of the things that he talks about is he says leadership ability is the lid that determines a person's level of effectiveness. So it's their leadership lid. It's how far you cap yourself on the ability to influence other humans. He kind of described it in terms of like, you can give yourself like a 1 to 10 ranking on a specific area in your life, right? For this one, let's just go with leadership. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what level do you guys think you would be when it comes to your leadership ability, your ability to influence and impact people for the better? So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? Put in the chat for me. On a scale of 1 to 10. Now, the reason why he says this is so important is because obviously influence and getting people to take action, but doing so in a way that helps them achieve their results and their goals will allow them to feel compelled to follow you and follow you anywhere, right? I have a lot of people in my life that I will literally follow anywhere because of their leadership ability. Now, here's the thing. Like if you have a leadership ability, let's say you're a leader and you say that right now it's a level 3 or level 4. That means people who are below your level are going to be willing to be led by you. Not everybody, but there is a potential of you being able to lead those people. If you're a level 4 leader, you're not going to be leading a level 8 leader. It's just the way that it kind of works. So as you look at these different structures, as you look at these different levels, you got to ask yourself, like, what level am I? And as I continue to grow my leadership lid, how many more people am I able to help? Now, a lot of people, Betty, good morning, good morning. Now, a lot of people are like, man, like I want to become better at sales. I want to become better at entrepreneurship. I want to grow up my business, right? And they fail to forget that the leadership lid is the biggest thing that can actually hold you back. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm called Modern Leadership, and I have a lot of people who are like career professionals, which we got a ton of stuff for career professionals on the channel. But a lot of the live calls and a lot of the training that I do has to do with like entrepreneurship. And people tend to dismiss the fact that leadership is directly tied to entrepreneurship. When you're thinking about getting people to take action, to take massive action, to follow behind you, like that is an incredible, powerful skill for your business and also as a parent and also as a spouse, right? And also in multiple different areas, right? And so when you think about this, where am I in my leadership lid and what do I need to learn to get to the next level? Because a level 5 leader can lead a level 4 or below, but a level 7 leader can now lead a level 6 and below. And the higher your leadership lid is, the more you're able to actually lead more people, all right? So really when it comes to this, I think about this and how I implement it into my life is I think about this in not only my leadership lid, but in multiple different areas, right? So if I'm like, I want to make more of an impact when it comes to video, right? I want to get really great at YouTube. And when I started YouTube earlier this year, I was like a level 1 or a level 2. And I'm like, what do I need to do to get to level 6 or 7? No, now a level 1, I'm not going to be able to get to a level 10, but I can get to a level 6 or 7. And so I found ways of like, how can I speed up this process? Number one, I signed up for a mastermind. Number two, I connected with Kurt, who has elevated my YouTube exponentially. I listen to podcasts about YouTube. I actually read books, several books about YouTube. I hang around in rooms where people are YouTube creators. I actually just went to this Data Edge Alliance and I found one person in the crowd who was a YouTuber, and we like hung out and I got to hear some of his ideas and philosophies and suggestions and things like that. And it was great. And it's crazy what happens when you put that out into the world, like what actually comes back. So that is how I think about my leadership lid. I think about, okay, if I'm a level 4 in this area, what can I do to get to a 5, to a 6, to a 7, right? Now, another way that I use this is I also realize that to get from a 1 to a 9 is like almost impossible. But to get from a 3 to a 7 is possible. But to get from a 7 to a 9 is also impossible. It's also possible. And when you think about like the possible of going from a 7 to a 9, I like to think about like doctors, right? So when it comes to a regular doctor, like they're probably a 6 or 7 at fixing all of these different things, right? But when you get to a specialist, they're like a 9 or a 10 in this one specific area. And we will pay them an unlimited amount of money. I don't know about you guys, but when I want a specialist and I'm like, I got Crohn's disease issues, I'm like, I don't care how much it is. I want to get this person because they know what they're doing, right? And that's why I like to think about if I have something that's level 5 or a level 6, how can I pour into it? And this is kind of like why they say like pouring into your strengths rather than your weaknesses, even though there is a lot of things that like pouring into like for YouTube has helped me develop. But there is a natural like ability of me to communicate, to connect over video. And that is something that I had naturally when I started off in the beginning, but I didn't have any knowledge about how to structure the programs, how to structure the videos, how to like have the hook, how to get people to watch the next video, all those kind of things. And by being able to level up, it got me up to a higher level, all right? So if you think about some of the strengths that you have, what level are you currently and what do you need to get to the next? I never feel like it's a good thing to go, you know what, I'm good enough with this, let's move on to something else. Because remember, like people will pay you for, from an 8 to a 9 is probably millions of dollars a year. 9 to a 10, also a game changer, right? I never feel like I can reach a 10 on anything. It's just like the way I lean into that mindset of like 9 is probably the highest that I'll get, but I will continue to surround myself, continue to elevate myself, to continue to lift my leadership lid. All right. Teresa, got to add you back to in. There we go. Wait, you're muted, and I just unmuted you. Nope, I can't unmute you because you're gotta. Are you back?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I can hear you now. Okay,
All right,
so that was
perfect.
book number 1 for me. Do you have any feedback or anything on that, or you want to move on to number 2?
No, I think it may seem overwhelming to think, okay, there's 21 laws. Like, that's a lot, right? However, the way that John Maxwell breaks it down is incredible. And Mark gave an amazing like synopsis of it and just really touched on the really important points. But like we said, this is like one of our top books, so we highly recommend it just because it's one of those things. It's like a handbook or a guidebook for leadership, really. Okay, so we're going to go on to book number 2, and this is one of my favorites, and it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, I'm going to give you a real quick synopsis of it, and then I'm going to break down some of like the really key things that I've gotten from it and how it's actually changed a lot in my life. So, Atomic Habits provides practical advice and a deep understanding of the science behind a habit formation. So it's kind of like a guide to making long lasting change in your life that focuses on very small daily habits that compound over time and that lead to like big transformations, right? So when we think about habits, we can kind of think of, okay, there's like a lot of work to do to change habits. Like we get into like the consistency of bad habits, sometimes bad, quote unquote, bad habits, right? And then when we try to make changes, we're like, oh, it just seems like a really like big, we have to make big changes in order to see like a transformation. However, what James says is that basically it's just about the small, like those habits that seem like so insignificant that make the biggest change. It's really all about the consistency. It's not about the giant habit. It's about the consistency and about the really really small daily habits that you have to take. He talks a lot. He breaks this down really really beautifully. But I do want to talk about something that I think are, or two of the things that are most important. One of them is he talks about this thing called the habit loop. And it's about first the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. Now, I want to talk about the cue because this is like the trigger. This is what triggers you to perform whatever habit it is that you're going to perform, right? Or whatever habit you want to change. And this is the thing that really we try to do when it comes to, like, let's say you want to get up in the morning at a specific time and the cue will be the alarm clock, right? That's pretty obvious. However, that's the thing where once that happens, whatever we do in response to that is what makes the biggest difference, right? Because we either hit snooze or we get up, right? So that makes a really huge difference, even though it's a very, very small, if you really think about it, it seems insignificant, right? But it's huge because you can either like hit snooze and fall asleep and then like the rest of your day just feels awful, or you get up and you say, okay, I'm just gonna do this. I'm not gonna think about it, and I just do it. And then it can change the rest of your day, right? And if you do that consistently, then it just kind of becomes your identity. And that's another thing that he talks about is that you basically change your identity when you start creating new habits. So the other thing that he talks about is how you can start to implement new habits is to make it obvious. Because when you're changing your behavior, you have to like, take those cues and create those new habits and make them obvious. So this is like changing your environment, right? So we sometimes try to start creating new habits when we haven't really changed the things around us. For example, let's say you want to stop drinking so much alcohol, right? Okay, there's different steps that you can take to start creating a new habit about not drinking alcohol. And maybe you don't change your environment as far as like maybe the people that you hang out with, maybe they're continuing to drink alcohol, but you want to make that change. So it just makes it harder for you when you don't change your environment. But let's say you find, new friends, or you just don't hang out with those people as much. You're changing your environment, which helps you start to create that new habit and can become consistent to it. Now, when it comes to leadership, that's the same thing. Like you change your environment when, let's say, you're the leader of a team. And if you make it so that, hey, you want to start praising people more, right? Like that's like a habit that you want to start doing. You want to recognize your team for doing certain things, even if they're small things, but you want to make that one of your top priorities. You want, appreciation and, being grateful for your team. You want to create that as a habit. So now what you do is you change your environment so that it's much easier and it makes it more obvious to do that. So let's say that you have a weekly call and you start off by talking about your team members and what you appreciate about them and what you saw that they did and that it was great for the team. So there's a lot of things that you can apply this with, and that's what I love so much about this book is that it's not just about personal habits, it's about things that you can do outside of that. So you can apply it to any area of your life. And the way that it's obviously helped me with certain habits like my health, even being a mom and just the things that I do on a day-to-day basis. And it just gives me some structure so that I can actually implement and say, hey, I want to change this habit. I tell myself I want to change this habit. And then I actually do it because I don't make it like this big thing. I'm like, okay, what can I do right now that is super small that can help me? And if I can do it consistently, I can just, it'll just start compounding, right? So it'll lead to another habit change and then another and another. So obviously, when you start doing all of that, it can make a huge transformation in your life.
I love that. That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. I was, as you were kind of like talking about that, like the whole idea of like the cue, like when you see that thing or see something, it actually gets you to take that next step. And I remember him talking about like, well, then we want to make the things that we want to do, like let's say drinking water, making it visible so you can
Easier.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see it, you're like, oh, I got to drink water. But if you remove it, like let's say you don't want to drink soda and you remove the cue of seeing the soda or whatever it is that you do, maybe it's like you eat something salty, right? And that salty thing gets you to want to drink a soda. Well, like if you remove or figure out that salty thing, like it will naturally disconnect from that other habit. It's like really logical. I really like how James Clear uses a lot of powerful logic and gets you to like not only come up with strategy, but ways to actually shape your identity. Do you remember the thing that he talked about when it comes to like the ice cube?
The ice cube.
Yeah.
No.
So he was talking about this, and he breaks it down, and the reason why he called it atomic habits, like Teresa said, is because it's very small. He said let's just say that you have an ice cube, and it's in this cold room, all right, and the room is 23 degrees, and then it goes to 24 and 25 and 26 and 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. There's like no change at all. It's like still an ice cube. What happens at 33 degrees? It melts. And he said, question, was it the last thing from 32 to 33 degrees that made the difference? Or was it all of the minor changes that happened to get up to 33 degrees? And for me, that was like, that is crazy when I think about it that way, because not only do I see that in my health transformation, but I also see that in our business. It was like one small thing to one small thing to one small thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then being like at the Data Edge Summit and having them go, hey, you know what? We'd really love if you would team up and help teach some of the people inside of our programs again. It's like, what? And it was like those small things that build up that get to the point where it's just like, boom, it really takes off. And thinking about that analogy when it comes to the ice cube is a game changer, because that's how habits work. Very micro. And you don't realize that there's anything that's happening any different. But then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, wow, I had that overnight success, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't an overnight success. It wasn't the 32 to 33 degrees. It was all the degrees that changed leading up to that. So I definitely love that book a lot. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's jump into my next one. My next one is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Really powerful book. And I'm going to share with you like the biggest takeaway that I have from it. And also I have a video that I'm going to be doing very soon where kind of like I was actually taught a little different of a way to think about extreme ownership. And I really feel like it's going to be super beneficial to you guys. But when it comes to extreme ownership, it is controlling the things that you can control. I remember hearing this quote is like, when you control the things you can control, you can even sometimes control the things you thought you couldn't. And it's because there's a lot of power in thinking about where can I spend my time and my energy that's the most valuable. Getting its Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Where can I spend my time and my energy that is the most valuable, that's going to give me a return on investment? And let me tell you, thinking about the things that you do not have control over will waste your time and your energy and your brain power and your mindset and everything. You will be putting all of your time and energy into something that has no control over you, but you're giving it full control. And so really thinking about this, it's like when I think about using extreme ownership, some people also take it to the nth degree where they're like, well, I should take so much control over it and I should blame myself or guilt myself into doing it different next time. And that is also not the philosophy in the book. The book is just thinking about what you can control for next time so you can learn and so you can grow. Like we're all going to have those moments where we fall flat on our face, where we don't have things that end up the way that we want them to. But when we think about what we can control, it gives us the power back. Can we control the past? Absolutely not. Can we control the future? I believe so. But what I can control 100% is right now. Like what I say, what I do, my actions, my behaviors, my thoughts. Believe it or not, when you get really good at life coaching, you really get good at true coaching, you can control your thoughts and your feelings and your actions. You can get yourself to show up almost every single time. But thinking about what other people do, what other people say, what the algorithm is, like those are all things where we give our power away. And when we give our power away, it's a way of our brain tricking us into not doing anything because we want to stay comfortable. When we stay comfortable, we don't make the impact that we want to make. So that's why extreme ownership is something that I always think about in multiple different areas. I think about it in business, yes, but I also think about it in parenting, right? And so if I have a moment where something goes wrong or something happens with one of the kids or they don't want to do something, right? I think about what are the things that I can control. I can't control how they show up, how they end up in life, whether they accept the advice and direction that I can, but I can take full control of how I show up, how I connect with them, and how I lead from the front. And that is that thing we always talk about, which is like modeling behavior, right? So realizing that when you put your time and energy into what you can control, it can sometimes even help you control the things that you can't. But any time that you spend out of that is a complete waste of your time, your energy, and really your influence. So as much as possible, realize what part of this equation are the things that I can control and what is the part that I can't. And it will help you so much with not only your time and your energy, but also making sure that you don't waste it or give it away. And really get down on yourself, because that is not the purpose of extreme ownership. It's the importance of being able to take that thing and pivot it and change it and grow and evolve, which is really what a leadership journey is all about. All right. You're next.
I love it. I actually haven't read that book. So I know that we've talked a lot about this, a lot of these books, but that particular one I haven't read, but I definitely need to read it. Okay. So the next one is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. So this one is a super powerful book. And if you haven't like seen Simon Sinek's like TED Talk or, any a speech that he's done, he is a super powerful speaker. So I highly recommend that you see some of his videos. But what Start With Why is basically it's an exploration of leadership, inspiration, and the role of purpose in achieving success. So basically it encourages individuals and organizations to like dig really deep into their core beliefs and values to define their why and use it as a driving force for meaningful and impactful action. I mean, that really hits home with us and like what this channel was really about as well. So he goes really deep into this whole concept, but like in a nutshell, he really talks about like the golden circle. So just imagine 3 layers, and in the middle there's the why, or the purpose, and then the how, and then the outer one is the what. So what he says is that most organizations and leaders start with the what and they move outward, while successful ones start with why and work from the inside out. So even when we're thinking about like us as individuals, like we start inward, right? We start with our purpose and our why, and then we work our way out and we express that. The outward success is an expression of your inner growth. It's very similar to that. So he kind of talks about that and how it's so important and the power of your why and the significance in really discovering this and articulating it in a clear way so that can become the driving force behind inspiring action and creating loyal followers. So one of the things that he talks about is obviously there's examples, right? Examples of organizations that we know, companies that we know. He talks about Apple, and specifically when Steve Jobs was the leader of Apple. And he says, there was like this deep commitment to the company's why. And it made it basically its central like marketing and product development. Like it was the source of that, right? And we all know the product, right? We all know what it does, all the bells and whistles and everything, and how like innovative it is. But at the core, there was this significant why. And that is what really creates successful change and successful organizations and movements, really, because it's really rooted in the core purpose of what the organization is doing and what the individuals are doing and what the people in those organizations and everybody who's involved in it, like what their driving force is. So you can see this, in your life, right? There's a process that I have in my one-on-one program where I try to teach this when it comes to creating change in your life and becoming more organized and productive as a mom entrepreneur. And I talk about it as the 4 Ps, and it's prioritizing, planning, productivity, all guided by your bigger purpose. Because if you don't know why you're doing something, then like that's really kind of like the roadmap to where you're going. So if you don't have that, you're going to be missing something super critical, and you're not going to be clear about where you're going. So this book is we highly recommend it. It's an awesome, the way that he talks about different concepts of it is really amazing and can really help you in your life, but also in your business.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole philosophy of start with why, and it always reminds me to like lead with that, right? So when it comes to our kids, explaining the why behind it. It's the reason why on my team, when I ask somebody to do something, I'm like, and here's the why behind it. Here's what it's going to be able to do an impact, right? So I love also how it made me like not only a better leader, but also like a better business owner. Because if you are talking about the what or how you do things, and you're like, oh, just drink this shake. Oh, just do this workout. Just do this. Just make the time. Just find the time. All those kind of things, right? Kind of using some shame and guilt and humiliation, and not getting to the why, the reason why the person wants to even do that, why they want to use your program, why they want to use your physical product, why that's going to make an impact in their life. Like, you're missing a key ingredient. That's why when you're having those conversations with people, best thing to do is to find out, why is this so important or meaningful to you? I mean, that's one of our really impactful questions when it comes to life coaching, is like, why is this so important? And when you can get to the root of that, that is truly where their energy and inspiration comes from. But it's also where yours comes from too. So when you feel that time, when you're like, you know what, I'm not really sure if I want to do this, if I want to take this action, I'm a little uncomfortable, I'm not sure. Like, even before these calls, like, I have a purpose on this channel because I want to make sure that parents continue to like have exceptional relationships with their kids without feeling the need to sacrifice their own business or personal life or professional life, right? And so my why is like, somebody's out there right now who needs this, who feels like they're starting to get disconnected from their family, who is trying to build a business, but also still trying to make those awesome connections at home. And when I picture them and I'm like, I need to show up today to show them like not only why it's important for them and ask that question, but also show them the how and how to be able to implement that, right? And so reminding myself before I jump on here is a game changer. I mean, I literally have like my coin here that says "Trust your heart voice." I have my wristband here that says "Be the coach that people need me to be," right? Be the real and authentic me, because I want to remind myself of the why, like my why behind this. So if you're struggling with motivation, if you're struggling with finding, yourself taking the actions you want to take, you've got to reprogram your brain to start remembering why you're doing that. And if you're leading people, remember to remind them of why they're doing it too. Especially critical when you first connect with them, and to find out that why and to make sure you remember that so that you can follow up when they have a hard day. It's super easy when you have a hard day to disconnect from your why. It will not be at the forefront of your mind, which is why we highly encourage every one of our clients to have some type of affirmations. We'll talk about this in a second. A way of like reprogramming why you need to be on your A game today, what you are fighting for, and then going into battle, right? Whether that's in the DMs, whether that's on a live call, whatever that is, but you're willing to do it because you know what your why is. So find a way to remind yourself of your why every single day. And one of the ways of doing that is reading that book. It is such a powerful one. And you're right. The way that he communicates is game changer.
Yeah. And he has a famous quote. He says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So that's the importance of really being clear about what your why is.
Yeah. And I think what's really crazy is that We know when we first get started, the why is important. And then once we get started and we start seeing success, we start talking to everybody about the what. And it's like, that's not what people need. They need to know the why. They need you to be able to dive in and not be willing to fast forward through that and go, well, let me tell you about these 4 modules that I have inside of this program. And it's like, it doesn't matter if they don't know what their why is and why it's really important to them, right? And so it's very easy to start talking to people in your language, which is like, oh, here's all the things that I learned. But remember, especially when it comes to the belief bridge, which we taught a lot of you guys, is to go back and go, what is it that they want? And why is that so important and meaningful to them, right? So really, really game changer. Okay, my last book is Un-F Yourself by Gary John Bishop. Gideon, you're going to like this one. Un-F Yourself by Gary John Bishop. It's a powerful book. He has a lot of other ones. He's like, stop doing that stuff. There's a lot of really powerful books, but he talks a lot about like the power of self-sabotage and self-talk. One of the things that I've heard so many times is like, your words create worlds. Your words create worlds, right? And that is what you say. It's kind of like, I like to think of it as like the magnifying glass to your brain. What is actually going on inside here? And when you say those words, you literally will do everything in your power to make them true. It's crazy. I know we call this manifestation, or like the results that you're actually creating. But when you do that and you focus on words that actually pull you down, you will go out and you will prove them right every single time. Now, what he talks about having what's called a personal assertion. Now, you can say this out loud. You can read it to yourself. I call them affirmations, but he has 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll share them all with you right now. There's 7 different personal assertions. And this is basically taking control of your words so you can take control of your thoughts. And when you take control of your words and your thoughts, that's when you will stop self-sabotaging, stop bringing all of the things from the past into the future and continuing to go and circle and spiral out of control, and instead take back full control. Now, he breaks down every single one of these personal assertions, but I want you to like try on some of these for size, all right? I want you to think about them. I want you to literally say them out loud. Actually, while we're going, if you're in public, please say them out loud, like really, really loud, just so people are like, what is this person doing? But I want you to say it because I want you to feel if it has power over you or not. Because not all of these are going to work for everybody, but some of these may work for you. And if so, I want you to write them down. I want you to say them in the morning. I want you to, repeat them, write them as affirmations so that you can remind yourself not only of what you're fighting for, but the truth behind all of these personal affirmations, or he calls them personal assertions. Okay. Number 1 is, I am willing. I am willing. So when you think about all the things that you're willing to do in your life, when you're thinking about like, I am willing to do the hard things because somebody out there needs to hear my message. How does that feel? If that feels like powerful, then that's one to write down, right? The next one is, I am wired to win. I am wired to win. What he talks about is like what we say and what we think, we will literally go out there and manifest into the world. And if we think that we're not good, we're unconfident, we're whatever, we will literally show up like that in our lives. We have this internal wiring to succeed at whatever we think or say out loud. And it's crazy how this works. And in life coaching, I understand the principles behind all of this. But when you realize that you're actually wired to win, you're winning at your life, even if you don't feel like you're winning on the outside, you're still winning the battle of which control of your brain. Are you going down your head path or the path of your heart, right? No matter what, you're winning at it because you're putting your time and your attention there. So I am wired to win is another personal assertion. The next one is, I got this. So I got this. It just gives you back that personal power of like, you know what? I've done hard things before and I've got this too. Next one is, I embrace the uncertainty. I embrace the uncertainty. This is one of the things that you can say that will prepare you for all the uncertainty for the rest of the day. And no matter what happens and what comes up, you're going to be ready for it. Because when it comes up, you have a decision on, am I going to embrace this? Am I going to jump in and control the things I can control? Or am I just going to be totally thrown off for the whole day? And when you say this, especially in the morning time, you realize that when it comes up during the day, you have so much more control over it than you thought. Next one is I'm not my thoughts. I am what I do. I am not my thoughts. I am what I do. This is a really powerful one around self-coaching, because if you have a thought and that thought creates a feeling in your body and you decide, and also I'm not going to act on it, I'm going to do some self-coaching and I'm going to find a different thought that's actually going to allow me to take the actions I want to take, you can literally reframe it in the moment. And it starts by saying, I am not my thoughts. I am what I do. And then you lean into doing those things and you literally will create that kind of life. Next one is, I am relentless. I am relentless. For those people out there who love a challenge, who love to be, pushed a little bit, this is a really powerful one of reminding yourself, no, I am relentless. And the last one is, I expect nothing and accept everything. So I expect nothing and accept everything. And this is also leaning into the things you can control, right? Having an expectation and, putting forth effort and energy and having it not turn out that way. There's so much knowledge and stuff you can learn and grow through, as long as you don't go back into your expectations and then get upset and frustrated and angry, right? Because we can't learn anything in that situation. We can learn from, this is just one science experiment. It's one huge science experiment. And when you disassociate yourself with it, you can lean in, you can find the answers. And I'm about to sneeze. Oh. Okay, I'm good. So that was, I expect nothing and accept everything. Now, how I implement this into my life. One of the things is, I picked those personal assertions, the ones that spoke loudest to me, and that in the beginning were my affirmations. It was things that I've reminded myself before I actually went out through my day. But then there was times when I was struggling with things during the day, and I would remind myself and I would pop back in there and I would read it in the moments that I needed to read it the most. Before I got on a webinar, before I got into a sales call, before I got into a coaching call, before I was teaching my master coaches, whatever it was. In the beginning, it was all scary as crap. It's fine now because I've just done it so much, right? But it was really scary and almost to the point where I kind of was sweating so much. I was like, man, I can't even show my armpits. My arms are so sweaty, right? But it was something that I leaned into because I was like, no, somebody needs me to be on my A game. Who needs me to show up today and really over deliver? What kind of impact is this going to make in their life and their family's life if I'm willing to get past my own ego, my own nervousness, and lean in anyway? And when I started asking myself those questions, it was really powerful, the answers that would come out. And it's because I was able to reprogram what it is that my brain was telling me and what it is that I was verbalizing out loud. And that's another thing, when you even think about this stuff, is you've got to really be cautious of the words that you use, because when we use those words, we literally they will either empower us or disempower us. And if you feel yourself being disempowered, I want you to check your language and to go back and think, what was it that I said that made me feel that way? A lot of times it's but. You say this really long sentence, but, and then you follow it up with some type of excuse or reason why you can't do it. I want to be really healthy, but I've got kids. I want to be super successful in business, but I don't want to disconnect from my family or my health. And what you don't realize is everything you said before that is literally thrown out the window instead of using an and, right? I want to be in great shape and I have kids, right? I want to be excellent when it comes to business, and I want to be able to make that impact in my own personal life, right? And when you just switch that word, think about that, the power of an and instead of a but. And so throw those buts out, grab those ands, and just, and just run with it. So, all right, guys. So those were our 5 most impactful books, leadership books, business books for 2023. Teresa, anything else on any of that?
No, but now I'm going to have but.
Now you're going to have...
I'm going to think about you when I say but.
You're going to think about my butt when you see me? Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, guys. So don't forget, these books that we shared with you are not because we think you should read them. I want you to really think, and this is what I learned in one of my classes, and that is I might be the expert, Teresa might be the expert, but you're the authority. Meaning when you hear this, you're like, oh, wow, those are awesome books. Don't just get them because they sound awesome. Remember, our leadership lid, what is that thing that we need to do to lift our leadership lid to the next level? And if it's one of these 5 books, go out and crush it. If it's something else entirely different, go out and crush it. It doesn't matter. We just wanted to help you bridge that gap. Now, there is one more piece, and that is like some people reach out to us and they ask us, Mark, like, should I read a personal development book or a professional development book? And that is such a powerful question. There's times when you should lean into personal development and times you should lean into professional development, depending on where you are in your life. That's literally why Teresa and I created that other workshop. We did it a couple weeks ago. We will leave it up in the show notes and also allow you to tap at the end of this video so you can go watch that one. Know that no matter which one that you lean into, as long as you're leaning into it in the right season, it's going to work out perfectly for you as long as it's the skill that you need to develop next. All right. So definitely watch that video if you haven't seen it. Should you dive into personal development or professional development, there is an answer, and there's an answer that we want to help you come to. Besides that, guys, I appreciate you so much for making it here to the end. You are a powerful leader, powerful entrepreneur. The world needs to hear your message. Thank you for doing this, and we look forward to seeing you guys next weekend. All right. All right, you guys have a great day and keep leading from the front, team. Bye.
Bye.